Everyone back there, more YouTube channel. It's Chris back with another Rumour Has It video talking about players linked to the football club this summer transfer window. We're still talking about defenders. It seems to be the key position that we need. And left back this time, massive position for me. I really think we need cover at left back. I think Dan Burn has done brilliant at left back. Matty Targett's not looked great in pre-season. And Paul Dummett is about 76 years old and can't pass a ball 3 yards. So for me, definitely need a left back in my opinion. And we've been linked to a couple of players on loan. There's that creative transfer strategy by the club in a piece by Luke Edwards in the Telegraph today. So we're going to get stuck into these two players and talk about who we think would like at the club. We have covered them a bit earlier on the channel, I think, as well, but just a bit of a refresher this one because it could be potential in bringing one of these two in on loan. Just before we do, a little reminder, if you haven't checked us out already, please consider subscribing. We've just gone over 4,600 subs, so loads of room for you here. We're pushing on to that 5K, that magic milestone of 5K. There's an unbelievable prize for you to win once we get to 5K. Enter the draw and you can win a signed Alan Shearer photograph of his last ever goal against the Mackhams. So well worth having as a key bit of football memorabilia. And of course, along the way, you just get to hear loads of great chat about Newcastle United and brilliant stats I'm about to pull up as well and have a look. So why not? Smash that button, you won't regret it. So who we're talking about, two left backs here, two Premier League left backs as well. Decent players in their own right. And I think it's going to be one or the other by the sound of it here. But apparently both of them are interested in a loan deal to Newcastle United. So let's get stuck right in. The first one is this fella here. It's Marc Cucurella, who used to play at Brighton, was very good at Brighton, and then moved over to Chelsea when Graham Potter was a manager. Didn't quite work out at Chelsea in his first season for Cucurella, or Potter certainly, because he got binned. So he's 25 years old, as you can see there, how he compares next to the mighty Dan Burn. He's from Blythe. I can hear you singing. So let's have a look at the stats. Obviously, the age is a big thing. Cucurella is much younger than Dan Burn. Dan Burn ain't getting any younger. He's class. We love him. He's a legend, but he is not getting any younger. He's doing a great job at left back, but sooner or later he is going to get found out by a tricky winger. And I think the Champions League may be that moment. So having a quality left back in the squad who can play in that position, I think, is definitely key. And Cucurella is a funny one because at Brighton he looked really good, and even at times at Chelsea, he's not looked too bad. You know, he's quick. He gets up and down the line. He can put in a good challenge here and there. He's got good control, can beat a man, can get a ball in the box and everything else as well. But it just something about him just worries me a little bit. He's very prone to errors, I think. And I'm just going to have a look at the stats, play by play here. And I might even change my own mind with this. Sometimes I do this when Marc puts these stats together. But he played 33 times for Chelsea last season, no goals, 2 assists. So that's pretty much the opposite of what Dan Burn did, 2 goals and no assists. Tackles a game, he's putting in over 3 tackles a game. So he is putting in the challenges. Interception, 1.04. 1.61 blocks, 2.39 clearances. So he is doing a decent defensive job there. Recovery, 6.83. Pass completion, 84%. So it's interesting that you look at a player in highlights and you think, oh, no, he's a bit ropey, he makes mistakes. But when you drill down into it, Cucurella is actually not a bad player in all fairness. Crosses is the big thing. And every time we do this, we'll always make poor Dan Burn look terrible. It's not because he's a bad player. He just does not get forward and cross the ball. That's not his game. But you can see Cucurella there's 2.39 crosses a game. We need something on the opposite side that Trippier gives us on the right. We need a left back that can get forward and get a ball in the box. We can't just rely on Trippier time after time after time and whoever's on the left-hand side. Although Gordon and Barnes both look really good there, a left back who can go forward is key to having something different in the squad there. So you can see, Cucurella has actually got some decent stats. When you look at the red, amber, greens again, he's not got really bad stats. Defensively, he's all up in the high 80s and early 90s. He looks really good there. Clearances, and, tackles, pass completions, long passes, progressive passes. His progressive carries aren't great. He's a bit lower on that. His key passing as well. His crosses into the area aren't as good as other left backs in that position. But again, Chelsea weren't even playing with a fucking centre forward for half of the season. They had bloody Kai Havertz up there. So maybe that is skewed Cucurella's stats a little bit. It's kind of made me rethink him a little bit in terms of a viable option at left back. Looking at those stats, he is a decent player and he's a decent footballer. And I think maybe coming and playing for Eddie Howe, will make him a better player because Eddie Howe just improves footballers. That's what Eddie Howe does. And if Cucurella came here with an obligation to buy, we could have a really good left back on our hands there. Now, I fancy this next left back more than I do Cucurella. And I'll explain why in a minute. But yeah, let us know what you guys think about Cucurella in the comments below. We always like to hear from you. We'll always do our best to try and reply. But the next player who has been on that article from Luke Edwards is this lad right here. That is Kieran Tierney. Now, I'm a massive fan of Kieran Tierney, not just because I was born north of the border, but I think he's a smashing footballer. I've watched him come through from Celtic as a young lad and progress and then go to Arsenal and do a really good job. He's an excellent left back. He can also fill in as a centre half. He does that for Scotland, but he gets up and down the line so well. He's got great control, can beat a man. He's an excellent cross of the ball, brilliant defensively. And I just think that's where he edges it above Cucurella for me. I think defensively, I just think Kieran Tierney's sharper. I don't remember watching Kieran Tierney and thinking, oh, he's fucked up there, oh, he's made a mistake there. But with Cucurella, I do remember that. And I know Chelsea were totally self-imploding at that time, but I don't remember the last time I watched Kieran Tierney play for club or country and said he's made a mistake there, because he's Mr. Consistent, and that's where he edges it above Cucurella for me. But looking at the stats there individually, again, the big thing is the age, 26 years old versus 31 for Dan Burn. There is a story that Tierney, I think there's something to do with homesickness, whether it be himself or the family. There was talks about going back to Celtic. Obviously, Celtic can't finance that deal. So apparently he is interested in Newcastle, and it makes perfect sense for it, because he gets to move to a Premier League team in the Champions League, and he's also really close to Scotland in terms of as close as he could really be. Without playing for Carlisle United, that is. But no offence to Carlisle United, I'm sure they love Kieran Tierney, but that's as close as he's going to get to Scotland without going back to Celtic. You know, he could live in Northumberland. You know, he's halfway up the road there on the A69. Makes perfect sense for Tierney to come and sign for Newcastle alone, in my opinion. And I'm pretty sure in the players' opinion too. So I really think Newcastle could make this happen. And also going back to Chelsea and Arsenal. Arsenal don't seem to have an issue selling players to rivals, which they've already shown in the past, and also buying from rivals. Chelsea are a bunch of arseholes. They won't loan you anyone. They gave us nothing but grief over Conor Gallagher. There's rumours about the Lewis Hall thing that were a nightmare about. So to me, I think Arsenal will be the easier team to deal with for these two Premier League players on loan than Chelsea. And I really hope that Tierney's the one that would get to the door. The only worry about him is his injury record. But you can see there, last season he played 36 times, or 36 appearances for Arsenal. Only 1,400 minutes, so half the amount that Dan Burn had got, but 1 goal and 2 assists. So again, you can see his attacking prowess there as well. Tackles per 90 minutes, 1.72. Interceptions, very comparable to Dan Burn. Blocks, very good. Clearance is good. Recovery is really good. Pass completion, very good at 78%. There's the crossing again. 3 crosses a game. He gets forward and he puts in the box. You imagine Tierney coming in, overlapping, be it Gordon or be it Barnes, whipping a ball across, and a quality ball at that to Isak or Wilson. It's going to create more goals, and it takes away that dependency on Kieran Trippier's right-hand side. We would be a nightmare to deal with as a team if it was jumping between Tierney and Trippier, either side, then you've got the wingers either side, Miggy, Barnes, Gordon, whoever it is. It would be a nightmare for teams to figure out where the cross was coming from next. At the minute, really, we're not easy to work out, but a lot of it comes through Trippier. So it's great to have another option. And yeah, this for me would be the better option of the two. So looking at the kind of red, amber, and green stats, as we always do, you know, there is a few more reds and oranges in Tierney's game there. You can see his tackles are a little bit low in terms of a left back. Tackles 1 again a little bit low. Tackles in the defensive third a little bit low. Tackles in the midfield third quite high. So he does press up, and that probably lends itself well to our high pressing game. That he's going to press somebody in midfield and win that ball back. Maybe gives a chance for Gordon and Barnes to be 10 or 15 yards further up the park, where they can use that pace to beat a player if Tierney pushes high and wins that ball back, which is really good there. Blocks are a little bit low for left backs, but when you look at his passing, his long pass completion, his mid pass completion, progressive passes are really good as well. His passes in the final third, his progressive carries are really good. So he's a left back that runs with the ball. His goal creation chances are excellent as well. His touches in the attacking third are really high. So you can see he's a proper flying, attacking left fullback or left wing back, probably as you would call it these days. Somebody like, you know, what Liverpool had with Robertson and Alexander Arnold on the other side. We could replicate that, or Chelsea with Reece James and Chilwell. We could replicate that by signing a player like Kieran Tierney on the opposite side of Kieran Trippier. So both of these players are being linked on loan, and this is where the creativity comes that Darren Eales is talking about. We can't buy either one of them, but we can loan them with an obligation to buy. Let us know which one you fancy above the other. I personally, like I said, fancy Tierney over Cucurella. I just think he's had too many ricks in his game, and I think Tierney would be a much better player, but that injury worry is there. He has had some stinkers in his time as a player. Hopefully he's away from those injuries now, but I think for the player and for Newcastle, it makes perfect sense. He gets closer to Scotland, and you know, he's a proper player, experienced international football, Champions League football, and he would be a great asset to have at left back. But that's us done talking about those two players. As we said, let us know what you think in the comments below. We always like to hear from you. We'll always try to give you our opinion in the comments too. If you take the time to type one, we'll take the time to reply. As I mentioned at the start, if you haven't, smash that subscribe button, come and join us, like the video, help the channel grow around YouTube. We'll be back with some more rumour has it videos soon enough, and hopefully we'll come back with a couple of videos about signing two players. We'll see you later, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.